This is episode number 1 of the Superparent Syndrome, and I am your host, Dr. Nick Fanning, working dad of a blended family of 4. And today's topic is, what's at stake?
Parenting in the 21st century is ever evolving, and while you balance work, kids, and your sanity, it's easy to feel discouraged. Welcome to the Superparent Syndrome with your host, Dr. Nick Fanning.
Hello, my beautiful, brave parents out there. It doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have, single or married. If you have kids, you have stress and fears and doubts. And I am here to tell you, you are not alone. Today, we talk about what's at stake. Now, first of all, some of you may be wondering if the title implies that being a super parent is a good thing, or maybe it's a bad thing. My answer is simply put is this: yes, it can be either. Now, if by super parent you mean juggling the actions of raising responsible, wonderful children while also living true to your own greater purpose, then yeah, that's a good thing. And those parents, they seem to be very involved, trying to do it all, trying to balance their health, their work, social life, raising their kids' own work and schoolwork and social life and clubs and organizations, and the list goes on and on. And so that's why I dub you guys super parents. Trying to be one myself as well, and I have 4 kids that I'm working with on that. They're all under the ages of 5, so I have a 5, a 3, a 3, and a 2-year-old. And so I'm living it. I'm deep in the trenches. Now, I have not even begun to understand the complexities of raising teenagers, and I luckily have a few years to do that. At the same time, principles are principles, and that's what we're going to be discussing on this podcast. Now, however, if you're a parent and you expect perfection, or you're one of those helicopter parents that are constantly hovering over your children and fighting their own fights, not empowering them, not raising them to be independent, but yet dependent on you, then being a super parent in that regards is a bad thing. And I'm not even technically going to call you guys super parents. I'm calling you helicopter parents. And that's a phrase I remember borrowing from one of my teacher friends. Now, it's really up to you to decide which one's which and which one you want to work towards. But if you like my energy, if you like my tone and intention, then continue on. Because let's commit. Because really, parenthood is not for wimps. Now, each and every week, I'm going to be delivering a new challenge that will be short and sweet. And I don't say challenge lightly because obviously every day you're in the trenches with your children. I know your time is short and sweet. Whether you're listening to this during one of your short commutes or perhaps one of those precious nap periods, or even during one of your bathroom breaks as you try to multitask, get ready for the day, and keep your sanity. I'm not going to waste your time. So each one of these weeks is only going to be 8 to 12 minutes long, tops. And here and there, I will offer, probably on a monthly basis, an interview with experts around the world, around the country at least, about the newest and greatest and latest as far as parenting techniques, but also being an entrepreneur and using the principles and philosophy to allow you to take your life up to another notch. And so I want your commitment, and I want your focus, and well, what focus we can absolutely spare. But then that's what the whole point of this podcast is. And so let's even talk about purpose, because my purpose is I like seeing people at their very, very best, and I want them happy and healthy. And that's my purpose as a doctor. Now, the purpose of this podcast, because as an entrepreneur, as a parent, as a spouse, as a club member, as a person in my community, I realize what's at stake. What's at stake is far greater than most of you may have even realized. Because we're not just talking about your own life. Hey, that's important. I understand. We got things to do. But think about what's at stake for your own children. And even more so for their children. Because whether or not you like it or not, you're a role model. Those little eyes are watching constantly. And they learn from your example. How you fight. How you win. What you eat. How you exercise. What your mindset is, what your interactions are like. All of those are being programmed into their little minds. And yeah, you have an advantage if they're younger, but hey, if they're teenagers, you can still lead by example. You can still be that role model. And that's what I'm talking about, what's at stake. Because you're not just teaching your children. Those are the habits, those are the things that they're going to take with them as they parent their children. My dad wisely once told me that the whole purpose of being a father is being a better father than what you had. And I had a pretty darn great dad. And so I have to honor him by taking it up another notch. And yeah, sometimes that task is pretty daunting. Sometimes they wear you down. Sometimes you're sick and kids are unrelentless still. Sometimes you have to tell them no and they tell you that they hate you. But you know what? They have limited options on how they can describe things. Heck, even in psychology, I was taught in college that psychology, this says that empathy truly isn't even trained into the adult mind until they're about 21, 22. And so when we're dealing with these emotional roller coasters, even as teenagers, man, it's easy to get beat up. At the same time, who's the parent? Who's the adult? And I'm sorry, but everybody's looking to you. And, the good and the bad, the reward is great. Because what's at stake if we don't keep things together is that little minds are going to be hurt or ignored. We'll tell them to go play their video games or go watch a movie instead of being actually engaged. And they can only suffer. If we don't push ourselves, our other option is we coast. And there's only one direction that we can coast, folks, and that's down. And that's no way to live life. That's a life of mediocrity. That's one of my major passions in life, is to defeat mediocrity. Because if you think about it, with mediocrity, everything out there is trying to push you towards that instead of towards greatness. Think about fast food versus real food. Think about, watching Netflix instead of reading a book. Going that extra distance. And we say that we're losing that in that society, but I'm sorry, but it just seems everything, all the money, all the politicians, all the celebrities are pushing us towards that. And so you have to choose. You have to decide. You have to, really own that personal philosophy of what's it going to be for you. What habits, good or bad, are you going to teach your children so that they know what they can pass on to theirs? When you think about it, that's what's at stake. And you have to own that. And that's why each and every week I promise not to waste your time, because I know that for you, that time is precious. And that this 8 to 12 minutes that I'm going to give you every single week, it will have a purpose and a point. If this sounds good, if you like my intention, if you like my energy, then click on that subscribe button, tell some of your friends. Otherwise, move on. But otherwise, this is my line in the sand, because I know what's at stake for my children. I'm actively learning. I want to learn more. I'm going to interview people that are going to take me up a notch. And I got to lead by example for you, but for my own family. This is Dr. Nick Fanning with the SuperParent Syndrome, and I will see you next week with another episode.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the SuperParent Syndrome. Please be sure to visit peptalksforparents.com for more content and our free newsletter. And remember, you are not alone.